Previously on Cobra Convergence.
Now, Cobra Convergence will be a little different this year.
Hey Steve, I'm ready for whatever you want to throw at me. Let's do this! I'm loaded for bear!
What?
I've got guns, I've got grenades, I even got a freaking magic wand. Let's do this! Rectum Sempra!
Timmer?
I even got us matching bulletproof underwear!
Timmer?
I feel like I can take on the whole empire myself. Woo! Let's do this! Wakanda forever! Leroy!
Timmer!
Jenkins. What?
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we're not doing a storyline this year.
We're not?
And now, the continuation.
Huh. Well, maybe I can get some help. Hey, Mrs. Steve, could you convince your husband to do a storyline?
He's finally doing the gardening, so he's busy this year.
Garden? Whatever, fine. On with the show then, I guess. Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome back, my friends, to Cobra Convergence. The theme this year is underappreciated toys. And you know what? All those mini playsets, they really don't get enough love. That's why today I'm gonna be talking about my favorite one.
Meet the Cobra Bunker. This toy was released in 1985 with all original parts. And there's a surprising number of parts, but we'll get to that later. First, we talk about how this thing looks.
And it looks awesome!
There's a lot to like here, but the best part is the large Cobra logo that's beautifully molded in the center. There have been a few instances of Cobra logos being molded in the plastic instead of being stickers, like the hubcaps on the Stun for example, but the one on the bunker is my favorite of the lot. A nice touch is that the rest of the bunker surface isn't flat. The lines make it look like it's made of bricks. Now that's simple but effective detailing.
Speaking of detailing, this little thing actually comes with a base.
It's a big gray rocky surface with lots of bigger rocks on it. It's a pretty cool enhancement, and I don't think any other battle station came with something like this. And all that is just from looking at the front. When you turn it around, well, you find out it's only half a bunker.
That's sort of a letdown.
But I guess it's also understandable from a play value perspective. I mean, a completely sealed bunker would just sit there. Inside, we see that the machine guns have handles on them for added interaction. These guns have a fair bit of movement, but not a 180-degree arc like you would expect. The inside is just as awesome as the outside though. The base goes from looking rocky to a smooth metal surface for figures to stand on. It even has a molded-in ammo crate.
The best part of the inside has to be the decal stickers.
You've got a radio with next to it a monitor showing the map of the battlefield. And front and center, there's a sticker of 4 monitors showing pictures of a current battlefield situation. You've got Scarlet and what I think is Mutt raising their arms in that G.I.Joe way, a gun that may be the 1982 HAL laser, and a Cobra Fang helicopter. Putting that all together, it looks like the Joes are starting their assault and are gonna blow that Fang out of the sky. This little sticker takes the term mini-comic to a whole new level.
Speaking of stickers, I forgot to mention one.
It's on the front of the toy, and it's just the word Cobra. Like it wasn't already freaking obvious who this thing belonged to. Now, being such a small playset, it didn't come with an action figure. It did, however, come with accessories. Now, yes, normally you'd only consider stuff that comes with a figure accessories, but this bunker totally had its own.
And it's friggin' sweet!
The Cobra Bunker came with an awesome looking missile and stand/launcher, and this thing does have Cobra sigil decals. It looks great and is appropriate for the main toy, as a bunker would be very vulnerable to attacks from the air, which this rocket could deal with. Overall, this is a pretty damn sweet package and I love it. But does that mean it's perfect?
Sadly, no. There are quite a few flaws, and I'll go over them now.
First of all, like I said, this really is only half a bunker. Now, everybody collects toys in their own way. For example, some people are happy to just have one Viper in their collection. Others may prefer a small squad. Still others, like me, are taken by the madness and want them all the ones in the world.
What I mean to say is, everybody collects in their own way, and every way is valid.
For the Cobra Bunker, though, I really recommend you get two. That way you can put them together to form a complete one. Hell, even 3djoes.com displays them like this on the site. It's not a perfect fit, even if you match up the halves as best you can, as you'll still always have a gap at the top, due to the way the roof is made. But it still looks pretty damn nice.
Back to being negative.
The machine guns don't fit very snugly in their slots, so they wobble around. And the pegs that hold them in place are easy to break, making the guns loose, so they're also easy to lose.
Speaking of easy to lose, remember that missile?
If you thought you'd only have to worry about losing the launcher or the rocket itself...
Oh, you sweet summer child.
This setup actually has 5 parts. The missile splits in 3, and the launcher has 2 parts itself. So, finding a complete Cobra Bunker can be a bit of a challenge.
And now we come to this toy's biggest flaw, which, ironically enough, is also a play feature.
You know how there are toys that say some assembly required on the package?
This thing literally has all the assembly required.
Not counting the base and guns, the bunker comes in 4 parts you have to put together. The centerpiece with the Cobra logo, a left and right piece, and the roof, making this thing a primitive early version of those 3D puzzles, really. There's a reason for this, of course. Kids could take parts off the structure to simulate battle damage, but it does mean it doesn't look as firmly put together as if it was all one piece. You'll practically always have gaps between the parts. Hell, even on the back of the packaging, which is supposed to be a perfect representation of the toy, you can see gaps. And believe me, this thing can be a pain in the ass to put together so that all the pieces fit properly.
And I, of course, have to do this a bunch of times to make this review.
It can be an exercise in frustration, and I imagine many a bunker was thrown against a wall in anger by a kid in the 80s. The last negative thing I want to mention is that the toy really should have been about 10% bigger. As it is, one figure can barely stand up inside it, assuming you place it in the very middle. Anywhere else and they're ducking or crouching. I don't know if this was intentional, as it does give the place a more claustrophobic feel. Still, even with all those flaws I just mentioned, I still think this is a pretty great toy, and considering it originally retailed for less than $3, it was an awesome addition to any kid's playtime for very cheap.
And that was the only toy the bunker ever got.
Some of these battle stations were remade in modern times, but sadly not the bunker.
So with that, it's time to move on to the, character without a file card, obviously, since having a file card for a bunker would be incredibly stupid.
There is the back of the box though, which we can look at courtesy of 3djoes.com. It says this bunker has some of Cobra's most sophisticated technology in their weapons arsenal.
It has 2 machine guns.
Well, I guess they could be talking about the missile, but that really isn't part of the bunker. Come to think of it, how heavy would that thing be? If they're retreating, could they just lug it around with them? Speaking of the back of the box, did you notice anything? The toy is quite different from the photo here. On the box, the middle piece has a slightly different shaped Cobra symbol, and the piece itself isn't rectangular, but rather a triangle, with the other 2 pieces forming the bottom it rests on.
This isn't that uncommon, as toy packaging often contains the prototype pictures of the toy, not the finished product.
The most famous example of this is probably the 1997 Stars and Stripes set, which looked almost nothing like the actual figures we got. Honestly, I prefer the construction of the prototype. Removing the centerpiece on that would look like more realistic battle damage. I can understand why it was changed though, as this configuration would be even more unstable to put together. Since I'm taking stuff from 3djoes.com, I might as well talk about the Boxart. It's great, as was usual with G.I.Joe art in the 80s, with Destro and a Crimson Guard standing not in, but next to the bunker. The only thing I would have added is the machine guns firing. As far as appearances in other media go, well, the Cobra Bunker didn't appear in the comics or the cartoon.
Except it sorta did.
Technically, it appears in every single episode of the second season of the Sunbow cartoon, as it can be very briefly seen in the opening credits, though it's grey, not blue, with a red Cobra symbol. But it doesn't show up in any story, just the opening credits. And we have seen a few bunkers in the comic, but none that looked like this toy. The bunker did get part of a commercial dedicated to it, but no animation. It had kids imagining they were G.I. Joe sized, or that the toys were life-sized.
It was weird.
And that was the Cobra Bunker. Overall, it's an excellent playset, though it is high maintenance. The reason I picked this for Cobra Convergence is because it's my favorite battle station, and I rarely see people talk about it, so I sure think it's underappreciated. I can't recommend this toy enough. In fact, buy two. Just make sure they're complete.
I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
Up next on Cobra Convergence is Form BX 257 on Saturday, July 7th.
Say, that gives me an idea. Hey, other Steve, you wanna go fight evildoers? I got about 20 cases of C4 ready, and I'm ready to rock a storyline.
We don't have time for a storyline. I'm helping Hooded Cobra Commander with his gardening.
What is it with these people and gardening? Hey, you're still gonna do a Cobra review though, right?
Of course I'm still doing a Cobra review. It's Cobra Convergence time. And I'm going to be taking a look at the 1991 Incinerators.
Coming July 7th.